notice what I'm driving in the background here. I don't even want to talk about it. So yesterday, Dad and I were hauling a little 440C skidder. Everything was going good, and we got about 2 miles from where we were going to drop it off. The lights on the F550, or the warning indicators, going off, low fuel pressure, derating power. We stop right where we're going to unload at, and the truck is just gushing fuel. I mean, gushing fuel from up and under the hood. That truck, I tell you, it has honestly left a bad taste in my mouth with Ford for quite some time. Now, you cannot imagine the frustration I had yesterday. And if the guys that work at Ford are watching this, I am going to apologize to you in front of everybody here, because it wasn't a very nice phone call I made, the initial phone call over to Mike. And he's a good dude, and I apologize. And I'm going to apologize to him again today when I go pick that truck up, because I think they've got the problem fixed. But yeah, so needless to say, I wasn't in a good mood yesterday, but I just got off the phone with them, so they think they've got it fixed. High pressure line blew. It's a wonder we made it home, because we lost a ton of diesel fuel. It just, at one time, we were trying to scramble back home. We weren't too far from the house, and the reason why I had to get home, Ford will not tow a vehicle if there's a trailer on. And that's my biggest complaint. Is it's an F550, so it's a truck used to work. But since I had a trailer on my pintle hitch in the skidder, which we kicked the skidder off right there where we needed to be, they still wouldn't have done anything. Would not tow it, wouldn't touch it. So me and Dad, we had to scramble home, get the trailer unhooked, and from there I called the rollback to come get it, take it on over. But what a mess. What a mess. Anyway, it's wet. One good thing, I don't know if I could have got in here today in the 550 anyway. So this little guy, that'll go anywhere. Dad, I see him coming up the way right now. He's got his Ranger behind him. So I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to kind of work up these logs, get them marked, get them ready to buck. I'm going to try to do a little bit of dragging this morning in the 648. Try to get some more logs out here on the deck. Weather is looking fairly good for the rest of the week up until Friday. Then the rain chances start Friday. Then they keep taking them out, putting them back in, taking them out, putting them back in for long range next week. Hopefully they stay out, because we got something really cool going on next week. I can't disclose that just yet, but it's a pretty neat opportunity presented to us, and we definitely jumped on it. So more to that in the days to come. But for now, I'm going to put my chaps and hard hat on, throw my saw on the skidder. We might try to put some trees on the ground today as well. She's still pretty sloppy. I don't know how long we'll get a drag today. Might just have to do some cutting and work the deck. Gotta get them new tires. I should have had that done 2 months ago, getting those new tires put on. What I'll do actually is I'll swap the back tires to the front and put the new tires on the back. I think I'll run down here first thing and grab this straggler log and get it back down here. I had these down here one day. I pre-hauled and loaded out right here, loaded heavy down here. I actually parked the truck down here and drug logs down here at the 548 to finish out a heavy load. This will be the only drag we make today. We went down on the timber and about didn't get out. We about got stuck twice. Once, I guess I was stuck because I had to winch myself out backwards. So, yeah, no logs are going to move on this job. She's done until drier days. Dad's going to go ahead and mark up. I'd say we'll buck up what we got. We're at a standstill here. We're probably got luckily the next job we got is only about 1.5 miles from here. And it's a fairly good sized job in the hills. So hopefully it's got a little better drainage. We'll probably start cutting there Thursday. We're going to knock out a little job of walnut tomorrow, where we moved the 442 yesterday. This time of year in these kind of conditions, we're just happy to be working. Should be the last day we get to work with the old blue bomber here. 440 there. You can see the other day where it was leaking fuel where I had to unload. There's one fuel puddle. See the other fuel puddle right here? Kind of see it in the shadow there. I guess they got it fixed. Now Kenny's driving the the blue bomber. Is my friends have started calling it. He's driving it. I'm in the Mac. I parked the Mac kind of up here on the top of this ridge. The ground seems pretty firm, and it usually does until you start putting 70 or 80,000 pounds running over it. So I always like to play it safe. Now today we're just cutting a little bunch of walnut and some white oak. Not a big bunch. It's actually some of our relatives or relation here, distant cousins. Or I don't think he's that distant to Dad, actually. But yeah, it's a nice little farm. He's got a lot of timber, but we're not going to cut that much for today. It's just kind of it's a good day project, good filler. Kenny will be on the skidder, Dad and I will be cutting. And there, cut a little bad in the butt. I don't think this little skidder's pulled a log since we got the 648. Dad's getting ready to bring that one down. I've got a notch and a hinge in this one here. Power line overhead here, so, and a guide wire right there next to the Ranger. So with my notch, I want Kenny to get over here and I want him to push it right out in here. This is where we want to go with it, in this open area. That way it doesn't roll back, come back on this line. Mainly what we're doing today is kind of REA work for the most part. Not too long ago they were down here and trimmed their right-of-ways. They're just waiting to bring their mulcher in here and mulch up. Not bad little walnut. Nothing spectacular, just walnut. My dad's cutting a good one out here. I've got another little guy here. Like I said, just lumber. But still being too wet to work the bottoms, I'll gladly cut a little bunch of walnut and white oak. It's been some time since we really got into much white oak. Now that's getting ready to change here the next week. We've actually got a bunch of white oak we're going to cut. Goes. Right there where we wanted it. I don't usually like working around utilities, power lines, structures, fences, anything like that, but there's times we have to, and this is one of those times. And you guys know I do not like using a notch and a hinge on my walnut, but I am, and just for things like this. Now luckily, or I shouldn't say luckily because that's not the case, but these are not high grade trees, these are just lumber. So I don't mind putting a notch in them, stump being a little bad. Yeah, push her on. So Kenny's getting ready to push it now. I'm gonna have to stop filming so I can cut a little bit. Hopefully we can get her to go right out here, then we're gonna get that big one down there and lay it right on top of it. I really need somebody to come out here and video. When I'm cutting, Dad's cutting, Kenny's dragging, and things are really moving good, I can't get all the stuff I want on a video. It'd be nice if you could find some high school kid or some kid just out of high school, want to make a few extra bucks, but then you got the liability of it all, and who knows where they're going to be, so it's kind of a catch-22. So I guess I'll just do the filming best I can. Now I've actually got the tripod in the back of the Ranger there, but I've yet to set it up. Things have been fairly fast-paced. We've been moving along pretty good this morning. Now he's getting ready to come down. Kenny might need to push on it. I got one hung up here. Like I said, we're trying to just push them back here to the south, away from this line above me. So the fact they're hanging up is not a big deal. We'll pull them right down. He might need to push on that for Dad. I think he is going to push on it for Dad. That little 440, I can't remember if I said this previously, but I don't think we've used it since we got the H model. I actually just brought it home from a job site Monday when the Blue Bomber went down again. Down. Now the other day when we come over here and drop the skidder off, I guess on Monday, we come back and little Toyota and drove through here with Kenny and the landowner. And I was telling Dad, I said, Dad, there's some old stumps out in here. Old stumps, like you could barely see the remnants of them. And we got to talking, and he said, you know, I think me and Denzel, which Denzel is Dad's brother, Uncle Denz. Uncle Denz passed away shortly before I was born, a few years ago, of course, 37. I think Uncle Denz has been gone 38 years. But that was Dad's oldest brother. And Dad was telling me this morning when we got here, we're riding down here in the Ranger, and Dad said, you know, he said, me and Denzel did cut this. He said, I can remember when we cut it. He said there was a heavy snow on the ground, and all they cut out of here was white oak. Back when they had to bust stave bolts themselves, they'd cut those white oak logs up into 38-inch or 42-inch pieces. Then they'd either have to halve or quarter them and load them by hand on the 2-ton truck. Dad said this old road was here, which it's about a goat trail, nothing but big sandstone rock. Dad said it was a big heavy snow on when they were coming out of here. Our cousin Jack Pate was driving the truck. Dad and Uncle Denz had cut and loaded the logs, and Dad said they'd lost the stave bolts off the truck twice and had to reload them. Dad said he was 15 years old. It's right after Grandpa passed away. So, not much this old ground around home Dad hasn't stomped on a few times or cut the timber off. Coon hunted, deer hunted, trapped. He's been on about all of it around here, but anytime Dad tells me stories like that, it just it really sends chills down my spine hearing about him when he was a boy with Uncle Denz or his dad logging. Here we are now, 60 years later, cutting it again. Because they look good doesn't mean they are good. There's a pretty tree standing. But if you look at the stump here, that. I tell you in my videos a lot, trees will talk to you, but you got to be willing to listen. They'll tell you a lot about themselves. You just got to pay attention. North part of the farm here. That's a property line fence. They're putting in a new fence. The neighboring landowner, he's here with the landowner we're cutting on. So this tree's got a very, very, very hard lean back here towards a cross fence, and all the hamburger and patties and T-bone steaks were standing right here a minute ago. So I've already went ahead and put my notch in it. When Kenny gets here, I'll have him push all this debris out. That way he can get a clear shot to pull it right down through there. I need to push that around that ugly old snag there. We're going to try to salvage it. And I really don't know what all we have to cut here. This was kind of more Kenny's deal, so I'm just kind of cutting as I go. I've knocked down a couple right here. Of course, there's one. There's another stump there. They're just lumber. This is nothing spectacular. This tree here is probably the better tree I've cut yet, or that we've cut yet, also counting for Dad's tally. But yeah, it's just a set of lumber. Here comes Kenny. Well, that's a wrap on this little day job. Excuse me. I don't know the exact tree count. Wasn't a big bunch of them, but pretty decent little logs. Like I said, just lumber. They cut good for the most part. We had a few that cut a little ornery. Just a good way to pass the time on a Wednesday. Hey guys, if you like what you see, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for all of our latest videos.